fuck, I'm screwed. I'm like,
The amount of promises I think that we have done on the show in terms of helping everybody take their brand forward, scale, and everything. That's what you do then. Invest time, put in time, tell them what to do.
You start by saying, hey,
Yeah.
we gotta fix the product, man.
This podcast is brought to you by CoinSwitch Kuber. CoinSwitch Kuber is India's simplest digital exchange and trading platform for cryptocurrencies, where you can start trading from only ₹100. A simple, fast, safe and secure platform which allows you to start your crypto journey in the most user-friendly way.
how else was your experience in Shark Tank? Like, how was it? What was the
I
worst
enjoyed
part?
it.
I know like you guys are going to talk about all the good stuff. Talk about the worst part.
The worst part was the still shoots that they were doing, where you have to use your brain at all and just use your body to pose. So that was the worst part of it. But otherwise, very interesting show. I loved being there. I was there for a very short period of time, of course, because of being pregnant. So I gave them only about, in total, I think 8 days. But
And how many episodes are there?
About 8 to 9.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. But overall experience was very good.
It was fun.
It was fun. Especially the banter between the sharks once the picture leaves. And after that, we had a lot of fun backstage. Very good experience.
Did you guys also get cues in your ear and be like, okay, no, like
Nothing.
smile.
No, it was
you wanna
just
talk.
आपके सिर पे एक बाल खड़ा है उसको बिठा दीजिए आप अपनी legs को थोड़ा ऐसे इधर को घुमा दीजिए chair को ऐसे घुमा दीजिए. Those were the kind of
Okay.
that we
There
were
was
doing.
nothing like you Ghazal go take the lead and talk.
Nothing.
Nothing. Because in reality shows, that's what they do, na? Like they give you cues ki, why is everything so silent? Guys start talking, start fighting, do all of this. That didn't happen. Nothing happened.
Nothing. I think the show beautifully, brings to life personality of each of the sharks that are there.
Okay,
that's how-
I have a very curious question.
Yeah.
How did these guys reach out to you? Like, what was the journey? How did they, did they text you and be like, hey, you know what? We feel like you're one of those. We want you to have.
So
Like,
it
what was
started with a mail that
Okay.
came in. And after that, I think the conversation started. So, I mean, with me at least, it was, we refused a couple of times. And then, eventually he connected with Varun and he talked to him. And then he was like, we have to do this. Let's make it work. And then he was the one who said, Ki chalo karte hain. I was actually taking it very slow. I decided that now I'm pregnant. I need to physically take care of myself. So I'm going to be a little away from PR stuff and just focus on work. So that is what was going on in my mind. But yeah, that's how it started. So mail, then we went on Zoom calls. We had a couple of interviews and that's how they came back.
Oh, interviews. They interviewed you guys also?
It was more
More
of
like a screen test or something.
Right.
Right? With Zoom screen test.
Oh,
Yeah,
were you
it
like
must have
profile
been that.
left, right?
No. It
I'm
must have
Ghazal.
been that, but they called it a regular interaction. And it felt also like that. So where they just wanted to understand what has your journey been, what do you like, how are you as a person, etc. Probably to see what character can they
personality,
bring out in the show.
I think what she's holding back to, that apart from, of course, the fact that she was pregnant and she was worried that, in 6th, 7th month traveling in such schedule, and does she need to do that? And the second thing was, she was like, boss, ye itna paisa aisa kaise udhar dal denge? You were talking about like crores of rupees being invested, like right there in the spot. Koi due diligence nahi, kuch nahi karne ka hai. So that there was that middle class DNA
Yeah.
which was at
That
work
never-
also. She's like, aisa paisa kharab ho jayega.
But due diligence to kuch to hota hoga na? Like they
After you've committed.
Okay.
So on the show, within that 1 hour, you commit whatever the deal is. You close that with the person, and after that, the entire whole process of
Okay,
media,
so
etc.
whatever they have
starts.
claimed, if anything is false,
It is more of like a post term sheet
Yeah.
with due diligence, because what the offer that you have given stands, right? So if there is no major disconnect that comes through, then you're doing that deal basically. You've committed to it, and you've committed to it on national television. So like, I mean, don't screw it up.
So there have been deals where you really liked the product, you loved it, but when you went home, you were checking on Amazon, and then you're like, oh my god, the reviews are What do you do now? But you can't then go back, right? Because the data that they shared was correct. Now the product doesn't have good rating. That's your problem.
Oh,
So
shit.
stuff like that has also happened.
What do you do after that? I'm just thinking like, oh fuck, I'm screwed. I'm like,
The amount of promises I think that we've done on the show in terms of helping everybody take their brand forward, scale, and everything. That's what you do then. Invest time, put in time, tell them what to do.
You start by saying, hey,
Yeah.
you gotta fix the product, man. you see this 2.8 star, right? You click on this. You read what people are saying, right? And let us work on a brief on how to get this going. But
so how did your journey start? Like, I want to know day one who came up with this idea.
So I think it was a wife bantering at the end of the day to a husband, why is nobody doing anything about it? No products were suiting our son. He used to get irritation, and that was troublesome. We were ordering products from outside of India, and we had a cupboard full of products, and we realized 4 months later that 90% of them were expired, and I was a hoarder, right? So I was just scared of going out of stock. So I think that was the pain point, and with all the cribbings that I used to do almost every night, किसी को कुछ करना चाहिए, कोई कुछ सुन नहीं रहा, कोई कुछ कर नहीं रहा, इंडिया में हो क्यों नहीं रहा? That might be the starting point where he said, "K R," and he has always been this person with a lot of ideas in his mind, right?
Okay.
He has like a folder full of 25, 30 ideas at any point of time that he wants to start up, but he's still working. He's still
14.
right?
we'll steal some of them today. We'll reveal it in front of everybody.
Still has it, by the way.
So what were you doing at that time when she was like, कि कोई कुछ कर नहीं रहा है, क्या है?
I was with Coca-Cola at that time,
Okay.
and I was heading brand Coke for India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, right, on the marketing side. So that's what I was doing, and because I've worked in Unilever before that, right? So it's not like that the category was not familiar to me, but we'd never seen the category in this light. I mean, I always say we had a very platonic relationship with the category, and it became serious after Augie came into our life, because we were like, boss, now we can't go wrong, right? And you usually, now of course we're on our second baby journey, but you usually, at that time we were like, yeah, probably we'll have one kid, and when you think like that, then you're like, boss, it can't be कि इसके ऊपर टेस्ट कर लेंगे, अगला वाला बिल्कुल मस्त एकदम बढ़िया बनाएंगे, right? So this is pilot, and we will do really fun job with the second one, right? I mean, let's experiment on this one. So you want everything to be first time right.
Yeah.
And I think she was feeling that a lot around some of these decisions as well. We were not just this, I mean, we were questioning even
everything.
डॉक्टर क्या बोल रहा है, और ये दवाई देनी चाहिए नहीं देनी चाहिए.
So we were paranoid parents. Our doctor used to call us Google parents, right?
I think you would Google everything.
Everything. Matlab from the medicine that he's prescribing to an injection that is planned for probably 3 months later, to what should go inside the baby in terms of food, etc. We used to question everything.
Why is a vaccine required? Stuff like that.
So he was also fed up, and he used to tell us that, you should rely on what I'm saying. Google will tell you 100 other things. Don't be Google parents.
So did you like Google? So there were like already baby products available in the market, right? So let's just say some of them, for some needs they were there, and for some needs it was not there. Like the products were not there. But for, let's say there were XYZ product available for something, so you didn't feel like that's a good one, or should I use it because 1,000 other babies are putting in, it's 1,000 crore business, or like these people are doing that. Like
so
you Googled that product as well. Like, what was the reason why you were not satisfied with something which is
I'll tell you,
available?
I had spent 6 months in New York before that.
Okay.
And in New York at that point of time, there was this whole movement going on around some of the ingredients being cancer causing. And they were lifting products off the shelves. So that's where my awareness around ingredients started. A little bit of habit of, turning the labels, reading the ingredient list actually started from there.
Okay.
And when when Augie happened and he had that skin issue, I was reading each and every ingredient and I was Googling.
Yeah.
And it just took us by surprise that India had absolutely no regulation around baby products specifically as to what should go in, what shouldn't go in. And there were very strict regulations outside of India, at least in the US, Europe side, right? So that's something that we were a little uncomfortable with. And that's how that whole process of
Everything started.
everything
और वो
started.
मतलब
yeah.
I also remember that time that there was Facebook groups, right, and all of that you're part of, and WhatsApp groups that you're part of as new mothers, and a lot of conversations were going around this, right, because there were large brands which were seen and being sued in US, and there were cases going on, and everyone was talking about it. So and especially when it's about like your young baby, then matlab, you get scared. It's just words like cancer. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't even think from your own perspective, right? तो वो छोटे से बच्चे के लिए तो मतलब आप कभी सोच ही नहीं पाते हो कि यार ये वर्ड मैं एसोसिएट भी कर सकता हूँ, right? And it is just इट्स अ डीप स्केयर देन कि मतलब करना ही नहीं, बॉस पर तो चांस ही नहीं लेना है, राइट? नहीं पता मुझे कि 10 साल से 15 साल से अगर बच्चे लगा रहे हैं, ठीक है, मुझे बट मैं क्यों लूंगा चांस, राइट? अगर कॉन्वर्सेशन है कहीं पे भी हुआ है, राइट? सो like she said, right? I mean, वो एक enthu to create something of my own and do something on, which we have created was there. Like it has been there since college, right? So the folders that she's referring to, वो college से बनते आ रहे हैं, and कभी tech CTO co-founder नहीं मिला, right? या कभी मतलब after doing some research, you figured, okay, no, this requires like a change in regulation, so probably we'll need to wait till the government sort of wakes up. And वो चीजें उतनी हुई नहीं, right? And possibly the drive was not as strong, right? And Chito, in fact, had done one attempt before this, right? So she used to, I think we based out of Bombay only that
Yes,
time, right?
yes.
When she was running this startup called Diet Expert, right?
Okay.
Which was all about sort of giving customized diets, etc. Right? So she'd sort of done one attempt, right? I had done none, right? And at one point of time, and one of the things that you start thinking about is कि बस ठीक है, ये चल रहा है जो कर रहे हैं, and, और अच्छा चल रहा है, and, मतलब पैसा भी आ रहा है, रिस्पेक्ट भी है, you're working with the top notch brand, आगे भी जिंदगी ठीक लग रही है, but you start thinking about the fact कि यार मतलब अगर ऐसे ही चलते चलते 50 साल का हो गया, राइट, और कहीं चला हॉस्पिटल बेड पे पड़े हो, और उसके बाद थॉट आ रहा है कि यार ट्राई नहीं किया, तूने ट्राई ही नहीं किया, you one life and तूने बिना ट्राई किए निकाल दी. That was like scary, man. And I was like, यार फेलियर के साथ तो फिर भी जी लेंगे, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा, थोड़ा बैच से आधे पीछे हो जाएंगे, थोड़ी तनख्वाह जितनी होनी चाहिए थी उससे थोड़ी कम हो जाएगी, and और मेहनत करके वापस वहां पहुंच जाएंगे. बट रिग्रेट के साथ कैसे जी सकते हो? क्योंकि टाइम इज समथिंग दैट यू कांट टर्न बैक, राइट? आई मीन दैट इज वन थिंग दैट यू कांट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट. निकल गया टाइम तो बॉस निकल गया, और तूने नहीं ट्राई किया तो नहीं ट्राई किया. उसके बाद 15 साल तक कूदते रहोगे जब तक मारोगे नहीं कि यार कोशिश ही नहीं की, तू कैसा आदमी है. तो मतलब अगर कुछ करना चाहता तो कर लेता उस टाइम में, राइट? आई थिंक दैट वाज लाइक अ really big driver, and I still remember that midnight conversation where she actually completely narrated this whole thing with me, and
Okay.
and we were having a drink together, and she said कि यार मतलब ऐसे तो नहीं कर सकते, right? कि because I can't see you, right, or us in that zone, right, where we are talking and doing regret conversations. And we can still do conversations about try kiya nahi hua. And I mean, like for example, earlier we were talking about whatever bungee jumping, skydiving, and all these adventure sports. And when you're standing on the edge, right, or at least आप try तो कर रहे हो ना, right? You're there, you tried, right? चलो कुछ नहीं होता, नहीं हुआ. You can still have that fun conversation कि try किया नहीं हुआ, right? But ट्राई ही नहीं किया के बारे में तो क्या कॉन्वर्सेशन करोगे आप फिर. तो आई थिंक दैट वाज लाइक अ मैसिव ड्राइवर एट दैट टाइम, एंड दैट जस्ट that night, right, just changed things. And we were like, यार purpose is there, लग रहा है कि ये होना चाहिए, right? और ऑगी सामने, and he was like a driving motivation, और कर सकते, right? मतलब between the two of us, right, enough passion, knowledge, enthusiasm है, right, कि कुछ चीज़ें आती हैं, कुछ चीज़ें सीख लेंगे, राइट, बट कर लेंगे, राइट. और वी ओ इट टू आवर लाइव्स एंड वी ओ इट टू आवर ड्रीम्स, राइट, कि ट्राई तो करना बनता है. तो आई थिंक दैट जस्ट टर्न थिंग्स.
Just the thing that okay, there's a need, and you were cribbing, and it's like, because she's cribbing, let me try. Let me try to at least make her stop cribbing. Okay, so what did you do after that? So usually we talk about, okay, how did you start, and then suddenly conversation goes to ab aisa kar raha hai, वैसे कर रहा है, right? What people usually miss out is the first step, कि पहला मेरा कौन सा product होगा, क्यों वो decide किया, and how did you find out the manufacturer, and then who decided the packaging, who decided name, how, like what was this stuff, like tell me step by step, so that I want to know, because there are a lot of people watching, they want to know कि यार तब क्या होता है, जैसे 1000 लोगों के पास ideas है, उनको करना है कुछ, they want to do something, they don't know how.
I think what followed was talking to a lot of other mothers, and that was the first step. Let's understand what people are looking for. Kya dekh rahe hain? What is it? What is the problem? Is it only our problem? Is it their problem? Right? So that was step one. And once we, I talked to about 50 to 100 women in about a week's time, and we understood that actually problem hai. People would be more than happy to have something which is certified safe, which talks about the awareness around toxin free was there, right? People were cautiously ordering products from outside India for the same reason, that the quality is much better.
Yeah.
So once we understood that, I think then we started doing a lot of research around ingredient sourcing, that what ingredient should ideally go into it, right? Are they even available in India? You kar bhi sakte hain ki nahi kar sakte? All of that stuff. What kind of a price point would it work at? So did a little bit of that research. Then he was parallelly looking for people who can help us build products, and he very extensively did all of that research. So it was
So how
just
did you
trying
research,
to
like Google or try to talk to friends or LinkedIn? What was the process?
So yeah, I
like
think
find out
जैसे
somebody
मतलब
will help you build a product.
I will also while she's talking about, I can relate it to कि बड़ी कंपनी में यही सब प्रोसेस कैसे होता है, right? तो जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल द पहली चीज व्हाट शी टॉक्ड अबाउट, राइट, वाज कॉन्सेप्ट टेस्टिंग. कि कोई भी आइडिया है ना आपके पास, राइट, फाइनली ऑल बिजनेसेस आर ह्यूमन बिजनेसेस, राइट, ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन कनेक्शंस के और ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन सेल्स के बिजनेसेस होते हैं. तो ये हम लोग कई बार भूल जाते हैं. तो कोई भी आइडिया है तो 50 लोगों से बात करो जो लोग उस आइडिया के ऑन द अदर साइड हो सकते हैं, विच मीन्स कुड बी योर पोटेंशियल बायर्स. एंड डोंट वरी अबाउट बॉस कि ये आइडिया इतना प्रेशियस है ना, एंड कि मैं इसको जो है मतलब अपनी तिजोरी में रखूंगा और किसी से बात नहीं करूंगा इसके बारे में.
lot of people do that.
Right?
Lot of
तो
people do.
आई थिंक दैट इज द फर्स्ट राइट स्टेप दैट यू कैन टेक, राइट. लोगों से बात करो, आपका योर आइडिया विल गेट शार्पन्ड, राइट, एंड इट विल move in the right direction and you'll get the right feedback, right? So which is the first step, which is concept testing.
Like find out, is it only your problem or is the problem big enough that for the people as well?
Are you drinking your own Kool-Aid, right? Or is it real stuff, right, that people will be willing to pay for, right? कि हाँ यार तू बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहा है ये मैं, बट ये मेरे को ना इस साइड से चमकती है, या मेरे को ये समझ आता है, या आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस बट आई अंडरस्टैंड दिस. ऑल ऑफ दोज कॉन्वर्सेशंस विल शार्पन योर आइडिया, राइट, एंड हेंस डोंट होल्ड बैक योर आइडिया, राइट. द रियल नीट लाइज इन एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ एन आइडिया रादर देन द आइडिया इटसेल्फ, राइट. तो वो ये कॉन्सेप्ट टेस्टिंग वाला स्टेज बहुत क्रिटिकल था, राइट. एंड वी गॉट अ लॉट ऑफ गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि यार कैसे सोचेंगे लोग, राइट, कि इंडिया में क्या कम्युनिकेशन चलता है. तो लोगों को ऑफ कोर्स ये चाहिए था कि सेफ हो, राइट, बट लोगों को ये भी चाहिए था कि यार हमें नहीं ये बताओ, अच्छा तुमने ये तो बता दिया इसमें क्या नहीं है, राइट, बट ये बताओ इसमें क्या है. Talk about the positives, right? So which is what helped us understand कि okay, we have to then think of the positive natural ingredients जो help करेंगे in that specific product, etc.
good
All
one.
of that came out of this, right? So पर उसका next step, like you said, right, we came to that what you call a charter stage in large companies, right? Where it's about कि अच्छा अभी ये समझ आ गया कि idea will work, right? And this is how people are looking at this concept, right? Now how do you develop it into a real set of products, right? So from a research perspective, I think one, I reached out to all the relevant colleagues from to understand how does the R&D process work, because that was absolutely new to both of us, right?
Okay.
हमें product formulation and the process of taking it from formulation to commercialization, right? This is not something that we were as clued on to, right? So I think there was a lot of learning process that happened there, right? One, by talking to people, right? Two, I remember she must have done like 3 different courses on cosmetics making and developing and all of that to just understand कि वो सी कैसे
I
होता
had
है.
no idea back then. I mean, even when I was talking to consumers, I didn't know that it was actually a concept testing that I was doing.
Okay.
So-called concept. I just thought that I'm trying to understand the problem of the mothers, and that's what I'm trying to solve for, right? So all of this ingredients, manufacturing, how is a product made, all of those business terms were very new to me. I was an artist before that.
Okay.
Very happy, right? Painting, having a studio, selling my work nationally, internationally. I mean, like, I thought I'd achieved where I wanted to be, and I can do this for life, and I don't want to like experiment. And then this thing suddenly came in, right? And not coming from any of the like B schools or having a proper business degree, all of these terms were very, very new to me. So to your question that when you started out, what was it that, how did you go about it, how did you figure it out? Step by step, like first thing कि अच्छा क्या problem solve कर रहे हो, what is it that you're trying to solve for? Second, okay, if you need to solve for this problem, what are the 5 things that you need to do? That's the step 2. Then once you figure those 5 things, okay, how does the execution start? So very simple. मतलब it was.
It's usually the simple stuff which people get it complicated.
जी.
So if you think about it, लोग ऐसे start करते हैं कि मुझे कुछ start करना है, और फिर they start giving excuses instead of figuring out कि okay, अब ये लोगों की प्रॉब्लम है कि नहीं. अगर प्रॉब्लम है तो स्टेप 1 में क्या कर सकता हूँ, स्टेप 2 में क्या कर सकता हूँ. So I think it's beautifully put out that I didn't know anything. I'm an artist, so I'm gonna find out cosmetics बनते कैसे. That's the first step. Once I found out cosmetics बनते कैसे, मेरे husband को marketing आती है, पूछूंगी marketing कैसे होती है, right? And if it's not the husband, may probably go watch a YouTube video and try to understand what marketing, right?
तो अभी तो यार बहुत सही हो गया है ना, मतलब हर चीज पे इतना कंटेंट अवेलेबल है, right? इतनी वीडियोस अवेलेबल है, इतना कुछ अवेलेबल है कि मतलब you can craft your own degree, right? कि मेरे को ना ये 3 चीज सीखनी है,
Customize.
तो मेरे को ये फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि ये कोर्स क्या कराता है या वो कोर्स क्या कराता है, मुझे तो इन 3 चीजों के आंसर्स चाहिए ना, राइट? एंड जो भी चीज उन 3 चीजों के आंसर देके आई विल गो एंड लर्न अबाउट दैट, राइट? सो यू वर टॉकिंग अबाउट फॉर एग्जांपल नेक्स्ट स्टेप वाज कि बहुत अच्छा ये समझ आ गया कैसे हो सकता है, बट ये करेगा कौन, राइट? तो विच इज वेयर वेंडर्स, मैन्युफैक्चरर्स एटसेट्रा कम इन, राइट? सो वन वे ऑफ कोर्स वाज reaching out to ex-colleagues in Unilever and trying to understand कि बस मतलब what is the universe and how it is. पर वो क्या होता है कि बड़ी कंपनियों के वेंडर्स भी बहुत बड़े बड़े होते हैं, और वो लोग जो हैं आपके पास बस एक आइडिया है, आप कुछ करना चाहते हो, और एक्चुअली वो टाइम बड़ा ही डिफिकल्ट होता है बिकॉज इट इज़ लाइक मेकिंग समवन बिलीव इन गॉड, राइट? क्योंकि ही इज़ नॉट विजिबल, ही इज़ एन आइडिया, and you're making someone believe in your vision.
Yeah,
which
that
is
only
not,
you can see.
which is not sort of evidently there. It's not tangible, it's not real, right? आप कह रहे हो हम ये करना चाहते हैं और हम ये कर देंगे, फिर ये हो जाएगा, फिर वो हो जाएगा, right? वो कह रहा है बस आज क्या है, कितने का ऑर्डर प्लेस करें, एंड यू आर लाइक वो तो अभी प्रोडक्ट बनेगा, फिर हम देखेंगे, हमारे पास इतना प्रोविडेंट फंड में से हमारा पैसा है, उसमें से कितना हम इसके लिए निकाल सकते हैं, बिकॉज हमने मार्केटिंग के लिए भी तो खर्च करना है ना भाई साहब, नहीं तो प्रोडक्ट कैसे बेचेंगे? एंड a lot of these big guys were like इनके साथ कौन काम करेगा बॉस, मतलब बाहर निकालो, राइट? तो बट ओवर टाइम मिल के इनफैक्ट we found a couple who used to run their own manufacturing based out of Himachal, and we have in fact said no to a lot of people who have come to us for baby products manufacturing because they just say कि standard बना दो, and जो मतलब regular बनाते हैं वही बना दो, right? And we've always felt कि यार जो मैं अपने बच्चे भी नहीं लगाऊंगी मतलब मैं बनाऊंगी भी नहीं types, right? And now when you're saying this, right, this is something that I'll use on my own child, right? And hence we will work together, right? तो हमने मतलब कितने हफ्ते कितने महीने यहाँ फैक्ट्री में ही काटे हैं, बिकॉज उस टाइम पे वी वर आल्सो लर्निंग दिस एट द एंड ऑफ इट वी कुड लाइक
make our own lotions and body washes and everything.
क्योंकि वो उस टाइम पे हमें याद है हम वी वर आल्सो वर्किंग विद madesafe.org which is like a US based not for profit, right, who were guiding us on some of these formulations, right? So we had a formulation consultant, right, who was there, right? But we also had MadeSafe, which was the agency which was supposed to certify us as well, right? Because हमने कहा हम खुद जाके बोलेंगे कि हाँ हम safe हैं, right? तो मतलब कोई क्यों विश्वास करेगा? And अगर someone external will provide a seal of that trust, right, then there is a reason why people will at least talk to us, right? So that was something from marketing angle I felt will be a very good icebreaker for us, right? And then of course we can talk about more conversations, but otherwise अगर हम किसी बंदे को कहेंगे ये हमने नया ब्रांड बनाया या प्रोडक्ट बनाया है, राइट, एंड आपको यूज करना चाहिए, शी वुडंट हैव दैट मच ट्रस्ट, राइट? सो वो मेड सेफ वाला पीस वाज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस, एंड हम लोग वो लोग रात को काम करते थे बिकॉज दे वर यूएस, राइट? तो रात को जो है हम लोग बैठ के उनके साथ डिस्कशन डिबेट ऑन इंग्रेडिएंट ऑन ये, राइट? वो आधा टाइम ingredients they used to reject because not just human health, they would say ki after you take a bath with this and it goes into water and it mixes with rivers, it is bad for freshwater fish. And we're like, oh, ऐसे भी सोचना पड़ेगा. And we're like कि बॉस ये तो काफी लंबा चलने वाला है मामला. तो वो रात को वो करते थे, फिर सुबह we used to go back to the drawing board and we used to sort of ask our team to again our team मतलब their team, of course हम तो दो ही थे कि यार इसमें ये फीडबैक आ गया, ये इंग्रेडिएंट रिप्लेस करना पड़ेगा, तो अभी क्या करेंगे? तो फिर कॉल्स कर रहे हैं हम इंग्रेडिएंट वेंडर्स को डिफरेंट, ये किसी को कर रही है, मैं किसी को कर रहा हूँ, एंड गूगलिंग करके ऑफ कोर्स कि यार कौन है, क्या इंग्रेडिएंट आते हैं, वो 4-5 फिर फिगर आउट करें इंडिया में कौन से आते हैं, उनके सैम्पल्स मंगाना और उसके साथ फिर बना के देखना कि बन रहा है नहीं बन रहा है, राइट? और फिर उनको बताना कि यार ये मिला है, ये सोर्स है, ये COA है, राइट? इज दिस समथिंग विच इज ओके विद यू? फिर दैट रिलीफ कि हाँ अप्रूव हो गया.
What's the brilliant part about this is just while narrating the story, you both actually put down so many business lessons. Like, it's funny that I don't know how people have not noticed this, or maybe you guys didn't notice this at all. Like, okay, so you started with finding out non-profit organizations so that they can help you in less money. Okay. Then second was you identified your value proposition. Third, people say that, okay, put out your vision, somebody will find it. Like, say out loud, because people say, oh, meri to koi sunta nahi, because you have not tried enough. Right? So you did that as well. And then the fourth part is get hands-on. Most of the people are dependent on other people कि चलो बना देंगे, हमने बोल दिया, ये कर दिया. But getting hands-on and trying to understand the entire process कि जो organization हमें help कर रही है, वो organization का क्या thought process है कि इसके बाद जो पानी में जाता है वो भी एक problem है. So learning these things are very, very important, क्योंकि especially in this Google generation, what we feel है कि oh, ये manufacturer product बनाएगा, ये मेरा idea है, ऐसे website launch करूँगा, हो गया. Like, we tend to miss out on these details, and I think what those details have made you who you are today. अच्छा, ये कब हुआ कि you're like, अब तो चलो significant business बन गया है, now we want to take unicorn, like we want to become unicorn. Like, when did this vision started expanding and like, now let's rule the world?
यार इनफैक्ट एक वो छोटी सी saying है, बहुत रिलेट करता हूँ उससे while talking about business building, right? It goes like कि यार चिड़िया से पूछा घोंसला कैसे बनाया, एंड उसने कहा तिनका तिनका ढूंढा, तिनका तिनका लगाया. That's how businesses get made, right? There is a sense of what you want to create and where you're going, right? And there is an intent to make a difference in a certain area, but you don't know कि वो how will that nest look like, you know. वो मतलब rarely do people have a very clear visibility कि यार ये ना 10 साल बाद ऐसा लगेगा. वो when you're starting in a certain way, and you're learning every day, and it is like you have taken that jump, and now you are building the airplane while you are falling, right? And you know that अगर बन गया तो मैं fly कर जाऊंगा, right? नहीं बना तो नीचे गिरूंगा, right? But you really don't have a very clear idea कि ये कैसा दिखेगा जब बन जाएगा और etc. And honestly, every year, it's very refreshing for us to see कि अच्छा अब जो वो 10 साल down the line वाली image थी ना, it's shaping up very differently, right? I mean, in the first year, that image would have been about कि यार एक baby care brand, right? जो कि at least ये जो evolved millennials के लिए ना, मतलब हमारा वो था कि passion था that at least us evolved millennials के लिए we should be the next, you know, Johnson's baby, right? Let's say, right? And they should be called Mamaearth babies, right? And that was the vision, right? That's how they grew up, right?
So Google parents के लिए हम बनेंगे.
हाँ, right? So हम
Absolutely.
बनेंगे, you know, Mamaearth babies बनाएंगे, मतलब they'll be the care that will be provided will be with us, right? But over time वो चीजें नई ऐसी चीजें खुलती हैं, because like we said, right, one thing that we've always done, and kudos to Ghazal because she brought that patience to the table which I had less of, right? I was like very business, and she was like very product and, you know, that ways. तो वो लोगों से बात करते रहना ना, right? Over time in your journey, just keep talking to your consumers, right? Just you will keep figuring out what should be next. And that's what happened, right? I mean, finally, it was the mothers who were buying this brand.
Yeah.
And बहुत ही पहले से one of the things which at least as a student of marketing I have been very convinced about, and is that this millennia belongs to why-based brands rather than what-based brands. And which means that people would like to buy into your why you exist rather than what you sell. And if you can get them to buy into why you exist, they will buy whatever you sell. And there are so many amazing examples of brands like Apple, right? Where from watch to phones to TV to anything, right? You'd buy into that universe, right? Because you buy into the design philosophy of Apple.
Yeah.
And, you know, back home, something like a Patanjali, right? People buy into Patanjali's reason for existence, which is Swadeshi Ayurveda, right? And then it was unimaginable for a marketer, right? कि एक ही किचन में एक ब्रांड का घी और उसी ब्रांड की फिनाइल यूज होगी, right?
Yeah.
सोच भी नहीं सकते थे
Yeah.
आप 10 साल पहले कि यार ये कैसे कौन, right? But when you buy into the why, right, that wide, right, of a paste and detergent for the baby coming from same brand, right, is what you can actually get into.
Okay. Now I want to ask you like it's a question for me. Like, what have you understood about Indian audience? Like, what is like a big yes when you want to market it to Indian audience at large? Because now you're no more like a small brand. Don't give me like a niche pe jao. You're like, I don't want to buy that. Okay. Now you're a big brand. Like you're a big brand. So what have you understood about Indian audience? What really is like a yes for them, and what's a big no-no?
The first thing that I would say is that Indian audience is not, while we all call them कि they are cheap and they want, you know, sasta products, and what at least we have realized is that they're not price conscious, they're value conscious. And value compared to price, right, is an equation rather than a number. It's an equation between what are you delivering and what are you paying for, or what are you getting and what are you paying for. तो ये audience iPhone भी तो खरीदती है, right? ये audience जो है अच्छे घरों में भी तो रहना पसंद करती है, and now there is a price associated with it, and but they pay for it because they see value in it.
Yeah.
And you have to optimize your mix for value rather than price. लोगों को अगर value दिखा दोगे ना कि यार इसमें chemical नहीं है, positive natural ingredients हैं, आपके लिए अच्छा है, और उसके लिए अगर थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा पैसा देना पड़ रहा है, दे आर नॉट लाइक सेइंग कि मैं वो नहीं दूंगा. उनके लिए दे आर कॉलिंग अस अ वैल्यू फॉर मनी ब्रांड, एंड देन सेइंग, you know, while we are expensive than others, right? But our value for money ratings are actually much higher than some of the mass brands, right? Because हमने वो value equation को optimize किया rather than price equation को. लोगों के दिमाग में value create किया हमने. And so I think that is one thing that when I think of second thing that we also sort of discovered and could also be a global insight, but India में भी equally strongly work कर रही है, was the fact that, एंड ये चीज़ जब मैं मार्केटिंग में ब्रांड्स में भी था, मतलब कोकोला एक्सेट्रा, टॉप 2-3 वेरिएबल्स में आती थी विच ड्राइव अ ब्रांड्स इक्विटी, विच वाज वर्ड ऑफ माउथ. It has stayed true for 50 years or so, and your business was entirely, right? Jadugar was word of mouth, right? It was person telling the other person, right?
Absolutely.
कि ये अच्छा है, मैंने ट्राई किया, तू भी ट्राई करके देख. Now क्या होता था कि पहले ब्रांड्स के लिए there was no real way to, the only way to drive word of mouth was कि यार बहुत अच्छा product बनाओ, and then just sell it, and then, you know, go to a temple and pray कि लोग अच्छा लगेगा और लोग बात करेंगे उसके बारे में तो हो जाएगा.
Karma marketing.
Right? Yeah, karma marketing, right? Oh, wow, what a terminology.
I tell my dad this. So my dad used to like, we're never going to market, we're not going to do. Like, Dad, why are you depending on karma marketing?
I like the thought, right? So, but abhi kya, matlab when we were sort of doing this, right? And it also came as a, what she was talking about, right? That मुझे याद है first 3 months, and she talked to 700 mothers, right? After we had launched, right? And we specifically were choosing these mothers because, you know, she was looking at blogging कौन कर रहा है, और, you know, WhatsApp पे कौन popular है, कौन से groups चला रहा है, etc. And she used to ping them, she used to take time, talk to them in 45 minutes. Talk only 10 minutes about the actual business and talk 30 minutes about ki, you know, meri saas, teri saas, tu kya kare. But that was the only way to sort of get that conversation actually, you know, going, right? But, you know, what we figured through that, and when they started talking about it on their social, right, we felt ki boss, ye to word of mouth ko spread karne ka, now there is a clear way, right? That you don't necessarily need to, you know, get someone to try the product and then, you know, that's how millions will get to know about how it is, right? But they are trusting, right, some of these people, right, who are talking about a brand or a product or the story or how their experience is, right? And they're vicariously building trust, right, in that experience that they're talking about, right? So I think that was a big realization कि Indian audiences, right, are who used to be only, you know, marketed through brand voice, right? आप एक ad बनाओगे, आप एक channel पे चला दोगे और brand voice है, right? Are actually listening a lot more to other people's voices, right? I mean, and they're trusting that voice a lot more, right? And now there is a way, right, to actually, you know, do that at scale, right? Because of social, because of podcasts, because of YouTube, right? And working with people who believe in your story, right? And are able to tell that story out, right? And we built a brand based on that, yeah, right? So I think that was our second big realization around Indian audiences.
Okay, first you came prepared. You knew this question. Like, you came prepared. It was not a fresh question. I loved that insight.
Yeah.
You read X number of books in India, and from the top publishers, top authors, they've all written that India is a price-sensitive market. Nobody has said that India is a value-sensitive market. It's so good to hear this. Like, I'm enjoying this conversation because it's a fresh perspective. I've never read this or heard this somewhere. And it makes absolutely sense to me because I know certain middle-class families who have income of, let's say, 25,000, but they use the best products.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, yaar, they would use small sachets of those products, but they'll use a quality product because they feel that particular product gives them more value than a cheap alternative or a regional alternative to that multinational brand. And the second part is, when he said now word of mouth, so I remember having this conversation with my dad. Okay. So I used to tell my dad that, Dad, India mein, the biggest influencer, the OG influencer, is aunties in the kitty parties.
बिल्कुल.
Okay, so if auntie in a kitty party said कि यार भाभी जी मेरे को मजा आ गया इस पे, तो बस वो गया, like वो product will grow. Okay, and then my dad said उससे बड़ा influencer है. I was like what? And I said कि कस्टमर होगा, बहुत सारे गैसेस मारे कि मैं ब्रांड बनाऊंगा तो लोग मांगेंगे तो उससे वर्ड ऑफ माउथ फैलेगा, वो इन्फ्लुएंस करेंगे लोगों को, योर कंज्यूमर्स आंटीज होगी. इज लाइक नो, इज लाइक इंडिया में आज भी सबसे बड़ा इन्फ्लुएंसर है दैट शॉपकीपर हु गिव्स प्रोडक्ट्स टू एवरीवन. बिकॉज इफ दैट शॉपकीपर सेड, लेट्स से शी आस्क्ड फॉर एग्जांपल, आंटी सेड कि मुझे ये यूनिलीवर का प्रोडक्ट दे दो, एंड बोला यार ये नहीं, आप एक काम करो मामाअर्थ ले जाओ. अरे मेरी गारंटी ना भाभी जी ले जाओ. Then Bhabiji is gonna take that product. So word of mouth works a lot. Like it's people telling other people.
Yeah.
So people the consumers who trust the right people, you need to go convince them for your product, and they start spreading because they are the OG influencers way more than the brand voice or anything of that sort.
But the only disconnect मेरे दिमाग में वो है कि यार दो चीजें. One, you trust someone when you know कि उन्होंने भी ना वो यूज किया है and वो अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस के बेस पे ये बता रहे हैं. अब फॉर एग्जांपल वो रिटेलर अगर उसको एक फेस क्रीम राइट विच इज फॉर एक्ने और समथिंग के लिए ये चीज बोलेगा,
She wouldn't take it.
he does not have the authority to sort of say that, right? वो फैमिली कंजम्पशन में और and that's the second big insight by the way which we have figured it. Continuation by the way, एक और चीज याद आया कि हम लोग बहुत ही फैमिली कंजम्पशन हाउसहोल्ड्स होते थे राइट 10 से 15 साल पहले राइट. दैट इन एवरी बाथरूम यू विल फाइंड दिस वन शैम्पू बॉटल, दिस वन फेस वॉश एंड दिस वन क्रीम राइट. But now we are becoming individual consumption households, right? जहाँ पे कि from one bathrooms on an average 2 बाथरूम होने शुरू हुए हैं राइट. वो 2 बाथरूम में जो है वो आप मतलब 3 टाइप के फेस वॉश है राइट. बिकॉज मेरे को लगता है मेरी स्किन XYZ है, या मेरे को फॉर एक्ने चाहिए, या मेरे को फॉर मेन चाहिए, मेरे को चारकोल फेस वॉश पसंद है राइट, while someone else likes something else, right? So in the same bathroom there are 3 shampoos, 3 face washes, and that's sort of happening, right? And which is where I think वो जो retailer का push था right, वो काफी कम होता जा रहा है.
It's insignificant.
Yeah, right. वो और वो खुद भी इन्वॉल्व ही नहीं होना चाहते रिटेलर्स राइट, बिकॉज देयर सेइंग कि यार ये मतलब मेरे पास सब है राइट, आपको जो चाहिए मैं वो दूंगा राइट, रादर देन टेकिंग अ रिस्क ऑन कि अगर मैंने कुछ रिकमेंड कर दिया राइट और बाद में आपको उससे एक्सपीरियंस अच्छा नहीं हुआ राइट, तो मेरा एक प्रोडक्ट नहीं खराब हो रहा राइट, मेरा ये लॉन्ग टर्म रिलेशनशिप राइट जिसमें आप मेरे से दाल भी खरीदते हो, चीनी भी खरीदते हो, मेरा LTV की बन जाएगी तो मैं ये चांस नहीं ले सकता किसी भी एक प्रोडक्ट के सबसे एक्स्ट्रा मार्जिन के लिए राइट. तो द सस्टेनेबल वे ऑफ डूइंग इट इज राइट, मैं अपने काम पे फोकस करूं राइट, व्हिच इज providing all of these products at the right price at the right time to my customer right. and इन ब्रांड वालों को अपने काम में फोकस करने दो कि भाई तुम बना लो, अगर कोई आके मांगेगा तो मैं वो दे दूंगा.
I think we're building like a very good like a podcast where people gonna learn about Indian customers and how to build a D2C startup and stuff. People, it can evoke a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
कि अब तुम्हें ये नहीं देखना है कि पहले how you used to decide product. I'm gonna make it for urban market in urban cities. And this is the kind of family profile. Now you can be like, इस घर में ये जो बच्चा बैठा है मेरा ये है target audience, and that target audience where you can build an entire product. So you can change your target audience just by this insight that now we're going to personal consumption. And I think it has to do a lot with democratizing of content. So earlier it used to be one TV ad.
बिल्कुल.
घर में सारे लोग एक ही जगह टीवी बैठ के वही देखते थे ad, तो सबको वही पता था. Now everybody's on their phones.
Yes.
And they have their personal preferences. They follow certain type of content, certain influencers. तो मुझे इसके जैसा बनना है तो मैं चारकोल यूज़ करूँगा, मुझे इसके जैसा बनना है तो I'd use a certain different thing. So I think it's democratizing of content, which is personal content consumption is leading to personal consumption of products as well.
Yeah, बिल्कुल.
Absolutely.
In fact, I used to call it ये content वाला scene तो एटलीस्ट 2013-14 में भी होना शुरू हो गया था कि पीपल वर कंज्यूमिंग डिफरेंट कंटेंट एंड पीपल वर अवेयर बिकॉज वो पूरी दुनिया फेसबुक पे थी, not just
Yeah.
India, right? And you could see what's happening not just here but in Singapore, and so you were getting exposed to all of that. But still, while you were united by aspirations, you were divided by geography. Right? What you said, right? Urban market. Right? मतलब मुझे तो डाउनराइट रेसिस्ट लगता है ये डिवाइड करना मार्केट को बेसिस अर्बन रूरल, बेसिस लार्ज टाउन स्मॉल टाउन. राइट, बॉस अगर कंटेंट डेमोक्रेटाइज्ड है, राइट, लोगों की एस्पिरेशंस डेमोक्रेटाइज्ड है, राइट, तो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी डेमोक्रेटाइज्ड होना चाहिए. राइट, एंड विच इज़ व्हाट ई-कॉमर्स हैज रियली डन एंड विच इज़ व्हाट वी हैव रियली लीन्ड ऑन. राइट, हमने कभी भी ये फोकस को इस लेंस से देखा ही नहीं. हमने कहा यार अगर हमारी कैपेबिलिटी है फुलफिल करने की किसी भी पिन कोड में, तो हम क्यों डिसाइड करें कि ये मेट्रो इज आर टीजी. हमारी टीजी है जो लोग हमारी तरह सोचते हैं.
Wow.
The people who think like us, the people who are, people who believe in the same things that we believe in as a brand, and people who believe in the same values कि यार केमिकल से दूर जाना चाहिए, नेचुरल प्रोडक्ट यूज करने चाहिए. ब्रांड्स को जो है सिर्फ प्रोडक्ट के अलावा सोसाइटी के बारे में भी सोचना चाहिए. एंड मतलब हम हर चीज़ में बात करते हैं कि हम नेचुरल प्रोडक्ट्स बनाते हैं बट पेड़ भी उगाते हैं. एंड एवरी टाइम यू ऑर्डर ऑन आवर वेबसाइट वी एक्चुअली कनेक्टेड बैक टू अ ट्री दैट वी हैव प्लांटेड, एंड वी सेंड यू अ पिक्चर ऑफ दैट ट्री, अ जियो लोकेशन ऑफ दैट ट्री, एंड टू मेक यू नो दैट यार दिस इज नॉट जस्ट a great difference that you've made to yourself, right? But you're making it to the environment as well, and that is what our belief is, right? तो जो लोग इस चीज़ के बारे में सोचते हैं वो सब मेरे कस्टमर हैं, right? और वो कहाँ रहते हैं, मतलब श्रीनगर में, अंडमान निकोबार में, मदुराई में, इससे क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है? अगर उनको भी वही विश्वास है जो मुझे विश्वास है, right? I should be able to service their needs, right? And it's just, that's one of the reasons why we've been able to scale so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Because हमने कभी वो जोग्राफिक रेसिज्म लगाया ही नहीं, मतलब इस पूरी गेम में.
वाह, मैं सोच रहा हूँ बैठ जाता हूँ, मैं तो सुन रहा हूँ सही. दिस इज माई MBA बिकॉज आई नेवर डन MBA. चलो इंडियन कस्टमर्स की क्लास चल रही है मेरी, और आई वुड रादर से इंडियन भी नहीं, कस्टमर अप्रोच की क्लास चल रही है मेरी, कंज्यूमर अप्रोच की. बट आई फील द सेम बिकॉज व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड विद माई पॉडकास्ट, विद आई स्टार्टेड विद माई कॉन्टेंट, पीपल यूज्ड टू आस्क मी यार तुम किसके लिए कंटेंट बना रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो, लाइक इज इट, do you want people to look at finance, do you want people to look at let's say motivation or business, like what are you looking for? I was like, I'm figuring out, like I don't know what I'm doing, and I want people just like me who want to do big things but they don't know how, they're also figuring out.
Yeah.
So let that be my brand.
Nice.
Every morning I'll wake up, I'll read about something, I find it relevant, I'll use it in my life, उसका experience मैं लोगों के साथ share कर दूंगा.
Amazing.
कि यार ये काम करा, तुम करना चाहिए, नहीं करा देख लो अब अपने हिसाब से. एंड दैट कनेक्टेड विद अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल दैट like still today people relate to this brand that we are figuring out.
Curiosity
Yeah.
is your brand.
Yeah, curiosity is क्या बात है, ये मेरे को लाइन नहीं दी. मैं इतनी सारी चीजें चुराने वाला हूँ ना इसमें से, you have no idea. I'm a professional like thief. I steal. Okay, so the last two question is I ask every guest. The first is, if not Mamaearth, this is like a very genuine question, but if not Mamaearth, if you had to stop today, everything, what would be the next big industry you would want to do, or what was the next startup or next product you'll start doing?
By the way, if not Mamaearth, there is
I know for another startup.
There is Aqualogica.
There's
there is
Ayuga. So we have four
right? So we
brands
have
now.
4 brands that we launched now.
I only knew about the Dermat one.
So there is a Derma company, right? And we've just launched Aqualogica 3
in
months
November.
back, right? And the 4th one we haven't even talked about anywhere else, right? So Aqualogica is a brand where we are trying to sort of take on this whole the cream as a industry, right? So
Okay.
हमारा what we learned over time, right, was कि यार ये जो creams adopt हुई happened because Britishers ruled us for 200 years, right? And वो अपनी cream लेके आ गए और हमने भी वही उठा लिया, right? ये हमारे मौसम के लिए है नहीं, neither it is for our skin, right? Oily and heavy products are not meant for that, right? So how do you create a brand, right? And we as a culture have believed in hydration, right?
Yeah.
हम लोग रोज वाटर इस सब में ज़्यादा बिलीव करते हैं, right? So we built a brand Aqualogica which is challenging this, and creating products which are much lighter, hydrating products for the tropical country that we are.
Absolutely. So Aqualogica brand is based on that science, which is science of hydration, meant for Indian skin and Indian weather, because we have different weather compared to outside, right? So
Wow.
thick creams are not for us.
Wow, so it's going to be my day cream and my night cream is going to be different.
Yes.
भाई यार सही problem solve कर रहे थे लोग, मजा आ रहा है मुझे. And the fourth one.
The fourth brand that has gone out just around 20-25 days back is this brand called Ayuga, where what we've tried to bring is Ayurveda and yoga together.
Okay.
We very strongly believe in these two sciences, right? Ayurveda has been there in India for
Since ages.
ages and ages, right? And then yoga again. It is, I mean, millennials are connecting so much with yoga these days. We know it's good for health. We know it's... So we are trying to bring Ayurveda and yoga together for skin and tell you, and that's what Ayuga is based on. So purani jo formulations hoti hain, which are authentic, kumkumadi telam, and then marrying those formulations into new formats, which
Modernizing.
Yes, which, you know, people today will be able to relate with, lighter textures, but still having that goodness of Ayurveda in it.
And that's in skincare, personal care only.
Yes.
Guys, you guys are building insane products, okay? I don't know how you guys are doing it, like disrupting personal care to another level, especially for millennials. I don't know. In fact, not millennials, like even my mom's gonna relate to it and she's gonna love it. And in fact, she's gonna be much more excited than I am right now because she'd find it even better.
Yeah.
Because her belief in Ayurveda and yoga is much higher than what we have today.
Yeah.
So you're providing awareness, you're educating customers, you're solving a right problem for the right country, for as per the weather, as for the people, as for the consumers. और कुछ बचा है?
I would just summarize all of this into one thing. We are trying our best to understand Indian consumers and what they're looking for, and then
be the
trying
number
to
one
provide
choice,
that to them.
And be their number one choice.
Yes,
I think that
that's
is, you know, if we had to summarize our vision, that is it, right? How do we become the number one choice of
Indian
India
customer.
when it comes to beauty and personal care, right? अब उसके लिए जो लगेगा, जो भी उनको चाहिए, right? वो कैसे provide करें, right? Is what keeps us awake at night.
भाई क्या सही चीजें बोल रहे हो, but I want to summarize this. I have a good idea. I think your brand became really successful. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay?
जी.
That it became really successful because you followed a basic principle of human psychology, that we like people who are like us and we like people who like us. So it's like we are fond of the people who we feel कि यार ये हमारे जैसा ही है,
Yeah.
ये same belonging से है, same problems को associate करता है, same चीज़ों पे इसको भी, you know, he believes in certain things. So that's why we like them. And second is we like people who like us. So we feel कि यार मुझे वो पसंद कर रहा है तो मुझे भी वो पसंद है. So you understand people and listen to them. In this world where everybody is trying to sell,
जी.
you are listening to customers, and that's why customers like you, because उनको लगता है कि यार इनको हम बोल सकते हैं और जो हम बोलते हैं वही बना के देते हैं. So the actual funda is the basic foundation of human need and human connection is like we like people who are like us. So that's the
You
one of the biggest
articulate
things.
like
I know
so amazingly well.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would be the next industry as a product you want to do? I know you're like a very product or problem driven approach, but let's just say like where do you feel is the next big opportunity? Just one. It can be anything. See, people say health tech, people say consumer tech, D2C, fintech.
for the kind of person that I am, if not the
This?
space that I'm in right now, it has to be something to do with art and painting.
Okay.
I mean I have, like I said, no, it has to very strongly relate with why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I have to love what I do. That's the only space where I can figure anything out. If I don't very strongly feel for it,
So watch out, people. Mama NFTs are coming. Watch out, new Mama NFT $1 million businesses are gonna build here. Okay, what about you?
Yeah, matlab, if I had to think about it and I had to sort of start something new, right, what I'll do differently is probably look at an even larger market, right? An even larger problem, right? Or even bigger consumer, pain points or care points, right? Sometimes we say pain points, but there is also care points. What do I care for, right? So, for example, in our country, people care for education, and education as a path to success. That's an amazing insight, and उसके बीच पे कहाँ पे क्या चीज़ broken है, क्या business build किया जा सकता है, right? Is a different phenomena, right? People care for their elders, and keeping families together in relationships, right, and taking care of them, right, and at least feeling ki we are taking care of them, right? It's a very important belief and value for us, right? People splurge on weddings, right? Very large market, very disorganized, right? Nothing really has happened there. So I think that's how we'll start thinking about it, right? Ki what do people care for, and because they care for it, they are willing to spend whatever they have in that market, and if you can solve a big problem in that market, you will actually be loved by consumers, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I'll probably start thinking about it, right? Job creation in India, upskilling, right? Boss, we have such a large population and everyone talks about 1.3 billion. I don't know if it's 3 or 4, whatever, there's somewhere in between, right? But, how do we deploy that human capital, right, to really make this country super successful, right? Because that's the biggest asset we have. ना हमारे पास ज़्यादा ज़मीन है, right, compared to other countries, right? ना हमारे पास ज़्यादा पैसा है, ना हमारे पास oil है, right? The biggest resource that we have in this country is people. And, I could think of a business where we can deploy this capital really well and it'll take our country to another level. Right? So I think ऐसे सोचूंगा मैं अगर मतलब मुझे किसी नई चीज़ के बारे में सोचना होगा, given now,
और बड़ी प्रॉब्लम,
हाँ
मेक सेंस. मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि ऐसे मेरे साथ कौन सी बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है जो मैं सॉल्व कर सकता हूँ. बट थैंक्स अ लॉट गाइस, थैंक्स फॉर गिविंग.
बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहा है. I think this underlying thing about how do you explain or share lessons with people in a very entertaining manner, right? Where learning, right, is something that you look forward to, right? Is amazing because our culture in a way is also moved away from this to a very transactional space, right? हम सीखना ही नहीं चाह रहे हैं चीज़ें, हमें कुछ बता दे कोई कि यार ये ऐसे कर लो और ये हो जाएगा, right? is where we are, right? Rather than asking अच्छा ये क्यों करना है इसे, right? या इससे क्या होता है, या क्यों ये क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ, मतलब हम कम जानना चाह रहे हैं. And I think it's amazing, right?
What would be one advice you would give me to improve what I'm doing? And you have to be brutally honest. Like you can literally be like, Raj, you suck. बहुत time waste किया. I won't mind it. मेरी audience को बहुत मजा आएगा.
नोटिस बोर्ड पढ़ना शुरू करो रहा. सोसाइटी का नोटिस बोर्ड पढ़ना शुरू करो कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कब जानी है, एंड 10:15 बजे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जानी है तो 10 बजे पॉडकास्ट प्लान करना बंद कर दो. आई एम बीइंग ब्रूटली
Ouch! Ouch!
योर सेक्रेटरी, सोसाइटी सेक्रेटरी will be very happy with me.
Do you have any specific feedback as well? Like how can I improve what I'm doing right now?
So I'm currently taking inspiration from what you've done, and the way you've managed to connect with so many people. You've put your passion and your learning and your something that you really enjoy into, and created a work out of it, which is amazing, right? I would just say that if you have such a cool business that you figured it out, take it to the next level. With why not? Why I mean, just
why can't it be
settle for
100
it.
million people?
Yeah.
Why can't it? And of course the way to do it, and hence the only thing that I would say is, right, जिन चीज़ों के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं, जिन चीज़ों के बारे में आप बात कर रहे हो, even language is a barrier which will stop this from reaching to a lot of people, right? How do you solve for that, right? I mean, and now with AI, and it is so easy to convert this into multiple language and sort of spread it, and so that it can go to 100 million people. And this is gold, right? What you have built with so many people, and this is so much. This learning can actually impact society's fiber, and and hence it should reach to a lot more people, right? And that's what should keep you awake.
Yes. Yeah, so now that you have said it, like maybe language will become a barrier. So I want to snug it in again. That अगर मैंने हिंदी में start किया, you guys are coming again. Okay?
बिल्कुल पंजाबी भी बोल लेता हूँ मैं.
वो मोनोलॉग करना पड़ेगा. मैं ऐसे करूँगा. मेरा पार्ट हम लोग कि मैं हिंदी में पूछूंगा, पंजाबी देना, फिर उसको AI से हटा देंगे. Thanks guys, thanks a lot for doing this. I really love this conversation.